like that. Thigh foot axis, thigh foot angle. Thigh foot angle is a measurement of tibial rotation. Okay, so how do you do that? Make the child lie prone, flex his knee, and the angle, axis of thigh is marked, axis of foot is marked, that is midpoint of heel and second toe, and the angle between these two axes is thigh foot angle. In this case, this angle is negative, suggestive of what? Tibial torsion, internal torsion, okay? Normally it is either neutral or slightly positive. Thigh foot angle can be also measured in sitting position with child flexing the knee and putting the foot flat on the ground. Well, in standing position, the axis of tibia and axis of foot, if you measure the angle between them, that will directly give you measurement of tibial rotation. Metatarsus adductor should be ruled out because it can mimic in-toeing gait. Range of movement of joints is very important. Patellar tracking should be checked for, especially in severe genu valgum. Patella can subluxate or dislocate with flexion. Lateral collateral laxity is commonly associated with genu valgum, so you should check for all the ligaments and laxity of all the ligaments. Well, a general examination to rule out a generalized disease. For example, in this child who had bilateral genu varum, actually he had a metaphyseal dysplasia. Well, clinical signs of rickets. Rickets not at all uncommon in our country. We still see a lot of nutritional rickets. So you must know what are the clinical signs of rickets. Generalized muscular hypotonia, pot belly, frontal bossing, delayed closure of fontanelles, genu varum or valgum, rickety rosary, pectus excavatum, and Harrison sulcus. There is metaphyseal widening and there are classical X-ray changes. Well, now we'll see cases one by one. You have already seen this child walking. She is a case of nutritional rickets. Okay, she's 6 years old and she had rickets since 3 years. She was completely neglected, so she was brought to me finally when she stopped walking. So she's walking, this walk you're seeing after some medical therapy actually. So you can see the X-ray picture here, classical of rickets. So in her I did 8 plates to correct her deformity. She's still under treatment. This is a 4-year-old child. She has genu varum, lateral collateral laxity, supinated foot, bilateral radial head dislocation, and typically what is called as a dish face. Anybody knows what syndrome is this? Can anybody tell me? Yes, this is a case of Larsen syndrome. In her, I corrected the genu varum by Lizarov and I pulled the fibula down to correct her lateral collateral laxity. Now see this girl, 16-year-old girl, carefully. See how she's walking. She's walking with 90-degree flexion of the knees and both the femori severely externally rotated. Now can anybody tell me what deformity she has? Can anybody volunteer? What deformity she has? Does she have a FFD and external rotation deformity? Yeah? Okay, I'll show you what deformity she has. See, if you make her lie supine with patella facing forward, you can see her intermalleolar distance is almost 2 feet. So she has very, very severe genu valgum. Okay, she's a case of FHVRR. It's a familial hypophosphatemic vitamin D resistant rickets. She's a 16-year-old girl and she has very weak bones and serpentine bones, literally, serpentine femur and tibia. Okay, in her, I did what is called as fixator assisted nailing and I corrected her deformities perfectly well. You can see I also did a common peroneal nerve release to prevent neuropraxia following acute corrections. Okay, she is an 8-year-old with bilateral Blount's. Her metadiaphyseal angle is more than 20 degrees and Langen squared 5. So in her, I did osteotomy, a metaphyseal osteotomy and a plateau elevation and a lateral collateral tightening. That's her 3-year follow-up. This again is a case of FHVRR. See, in these kids, the growth is stunted. She's 13-year-old. She looks hardly like a 7 or 6-year-old girl. In her, I did 8 plates and a supracondylar osteotomy, and that's her correction. Well, in our country, Osteomyelitis is again rampant, and we see a lot of deformities following osteomyelitis. This kid had acute osteomyelitis when he was few months old. And now you can see there is severe scarring on medial side and severe genu varum. And that's his X-ray. In these kids, actually, Elizaro comes in handy. I stretched out all the structures, soft tissues on medial side, and then added a tibial ring in that small fragment. And now he's at least walking on his two limbs. Okay, these deformities are not as complex as they look. Actually, they are much, much more complex than they look. Okay, it's a very severe deformity. This is also a post-septic deformity. You can see the orientation of tibial plateau here. See this? In sagittal view, it's almost perpendicular to the ground. There is severe shortening, severe varus. He was advised amputation. So he didn't want amputation, so I decided to salvage his limb by Elizaro. Did double level osteotomy, corrected the plateau orientation, and did limb lengthening. He's still on treatment, but now his limb is at least looking like a human limb. Okay, last but not the least, physiological deformities. Physiological deformities don't need any treatment, they correct by themselves. And yes, they can be very severe also. Genu varum can be very severe, as in this girl, but it corrected itself in a year. Genu valgum also can be physiological in this 4-year-old boy, you can see. The most important thing about physiological deformity is that before labeling it as physiological, you must know all the causes of non-physiological deformities, and you should rule them out by a thorough clinical examination. So then once you're sure that it's a physiological deformity, you really don't have to do anything. You just give reassurance to the parents. Okay? I think that's it. Thank you for your attention.
No, just takes the case now.
Yeah, we could do it either. I think since you've done such a great job with your physical exam, we can just follow through with a live patient. That might be more instructive. So this young boy, I just got the history briefly. He's about 30 years old. He had a kidney transplant. Actually, the lung donated the kidney about a year and a half ago. And for the past 6 months, they've noticed valgus deformities. I think right side is a little worse than left. You can see his face is a little puffy, which tells you that he's still on some, steroids, right? So, आपको दर्द आती है? So he has no pain. Let's check something. So the first thing, like Dr. Kulkarni said, is inspection. Looking at the gait, you're seeing his foot progression angle, his knee progression angle. One second. So sometimes when you've got one problem, you can have another problem, right? So what meets the eye is the frontal plane issue, which is genu valgum. But he could also have some sagittal plane issues, procurvatum, recurvatum, or some torsional issues, such as internal external rotation. So it's always good to look at the kneecaps, because maybe he has external rotation of his femur. Or what's also interesting is he has flat feet. So any child who has flat feet and not knees, the two will compound each other, meaning that if somebody has genu valgum, like physiologic genu valgum, and has flat feet, that's more awkward than somebody who doesn't have that. So now the other thing you can notice is that his valgus is a little asymmetric. So that if it was a physiologic genu valgum, it's typically more symmetric. And let's quiz you guys. So what's the normal progression? When a child is born, are they in vals or variables or neutral? Vals, perfect. So when does that transition occur? About 2 years. Okay, and then does it dip down into more variables? Right? And when does it dip down the most? I'm sorry? 8 years or 4 years? 4 years. Okay, and then what happens by 7 or 8? Perfect. You guys are great. All right. So what else is your concern with a child like this? So what should we do next? Any opinions? We can finish the physical exam. What would be your top 1 or 2 physical exam findings on a child like this? What would you want to see if somebody has severe Gini valgum? What else can happen? Dr. Kulkarni mentioned something earlier. Make him squat, yeah. And what are you looking for? I see. Okay, can you squat? ऐसे bend कर सकते हो? Okay, so what do you think? Okay, well, what else? खड़े रहो. Okay, good. So, I see. Okay. What else? What other joint can be affected if you've got Gini valgum? Yeah, please.
See that test about flexing the knee and see whether it is tibial or femoral is not totally reliable. With that test only we are checking whether the deformity is present in tibia. So there can be deformity in femur and tibia. Okay, so that is not an absolutely reliable test actually.
Yeah, that's a good question. The other issue is when you're looking at deformities, upper or lower, sometimes it's better to look at it from behind because us taraf turn karo. So see, that makes it a little bit more obvious in terms of the physical exam, right? You can also look at the hind foot. That's another thing you should look at because a lot of time in pediatric deformities, if you've got one deformity that's long-standing, the joints above and below can compensate. So let's say if somebody's got severe long-standing Gini valgum and they're trying to compensate, they can have hind foot varus. So that's another thing you can look at. The third thing, which is not really the knee, but can I ask you to start as tiptoes? Okay, so how is that helping you? Everybody, वापस कर दो. ठीक है, खड़े हो जाओ आराम से. So what is that telling you? Okay, gastrocnemius, that's true. What else is it telling you? I'm sorry? Yeah, so like, whether he has normal subtalar motion or not. So if somebody has, excessive hind foot valgus, you want to know whether it corrects. So if he goes up on his tiptoes and his hind foot inwards, that means that he's got good subtalar motion, correct? Right. And the other thing is, with long-standing Gini valgum, again, like Dr. Kulkarni said, you should look at the patellofemoral joint. Look for patellofemoral tracking, right? How do I do that? Vital. But does it have X-rays? I think it had some X-rays, right? All right. Okay. So let's just do a brief physical exam here. So, we're looking at it from above, and look at leg lengths. Anytime there's a deformity, you can have leg length discrepancy as well, right? And vice versa. If you have a leg length discrepancy, you may have a deformity as well. So here is leg lengths look equal. You can also bend this, look from the side, look from the top, looks fine. The other thing is, long-standing varus valgus, you can have instability, right? So always examine the knee in full extension and in 30 degrees of flexion in terms of varus valgus. The other thing is patellofemoral, right? So you can look for patellar tracking with flexion extension. You can look for apprehension sign, right? And also if you've got long-standing Gini valgum, you may have, abnormal pressure on the lateral joint line. So that's good. The other thing is you can have chronic laxity of the medial collateral ligament, right? So that's good. All right. Ulta let sakte ho? Then the other thing Dr. Kulkarni mentioned is to look at the rotational profile, right? So what is this testing? Internal rotation. Okay, so how much is it? Yeah, so this would be 0, right? So yeah, about 45-ish. Now, when you're doing external rotation, it's always good to put a hand on the pelvis. So you're stabilizing the pelvis, right? And if you don't, then you really don't know, what it is. So stabilize the hand and then look at this. So how much is that? Yeah, 20, 30 degrees. And then, same thing here, right? And then thirdly is the thigh foot angle, and I know you can't see it, but the other problem with the thigh foot angle is you want to make sure you don't invert or evert, and you don't plantar flex or hyperdorsiflex. So just keep the ankle in neutral without pushing, and then you look at the thigh foot angle, right? So here it's about 20 degrees external. Bilaterally, you look at